Warning, this video contains spoilers for a game that has been under your radar for a few years. If that bothers you, then, well, you've been warned. 2006, a year of cinematic masterpieces like Cars, Happy Feet, and a Sony Pictures animation debut that asked the age-old question, what happens when a 900-pound grizzly bear forgets how to bear? Well, the movie was a hit, the tie-in game was something else entirely. It wasn't just a platformer, it was a tactical, forest-dwelling insurgent simulator, and a minigame bazaar on top. Today, we're looking back at Open Season the video game over on the GameCube. You play as Boog for the majority of the game, a domesticated grizzly who lives in a garage and has a teddy bear named Dinkelman. Honestly, Boog is basically a Reddit moderator. He never leaves the house, he's fueled entirely by snacks, and he has a very complicated relationship with his mother figure. Occasionally, you do swap to Elliot, a half doe, half buck. One might say he's a duck. Look, I know it was bad, but I had to go for it anyway. This character is the whole reason Boog gets into this whole adventure and trouble sometimes. So, what actually happened? Well, after a sugar-induced rampage at a convenience store, which, to be fair, is just a standard Friday night in some places, Boog gets tranquilized and dumped into the woods. You see, the problem with that is that it's 3 days before open season, and the hunters are coming. Boog is just as prepared for the wild as most people are to answer the phone when it rings. The gameplay loop is where things get creative. As Boog and Elliot make their way back to Timberline, they face off against hunters. Now, to scare off these hunters, you have to recruit the local wildlife. But in this world, recruiting basically means violating several PETA regulations. So, what are they? Well, first, the rabbit toss. You pick up terrified bunnies and throw them at hunters. It's called sunlocking, but let's call it what it really is. Long distance hibernation. Next, we have the skunk bomb. You carry skunks like organic grenades. It's basically the only game where chemical warfare is rated E for everyone. Last, we have the squirrel sniper. You lead hunters under trees so squirrels can pelt them with acorns. That's pretty much about it. But let's not forget about the main source of scaring away these hunters. And what I'm talking about is Boog himself. You sneak behind the hunter and just give him a big old roar. Because it is a video game, there are also collectibles scattered throughout each level. These collectibles take the form of wildlife badges because, for some reason, Boog apparently wants to become an Eagle Scout. Some are hidden while others are just in plain sight. There isn't much you get for collecting these other than some random facts, and some extra points you can use in the upgrade store. There are also some mini-games that you unlock just by playing the story. They really aren't that inventive, but it does give you a small break from the story. Speaking of upgrades, they don't really change much about the game, other than you get more health, you can throw Elliot further, and the berries will just fully heal you instead of just one tick. Visually, the game was a classic example of that early CGI charm. The developers clearly put 90% of the polygon budget into Boog's fur. On a good CRT television, the fuzzy ones, he looked very fluffy. But on a modern screen, he looked like a vibrating rug from IKEA that's just trying to escape its own geometry. The environments are surprisingly lush though, capturing that national park on a budget vibe perfectly. Then there's the audio. If you played this game, you have the sound of Boog's roar just etched into your brain. It's the primary way you interact with the world. Screaming at things until they do what you want. It's the Karen strategy, but for bears. And we also have to talk about Elliot. He is voiced with such a high-pitched, frantic energy that after an hour of play, you'll start to relate to the hunters. You don't want to shoot him, but you just want to find a way to hit his, mute button.
Never fear, is here. You supply the ammo, I'll take care of the mano.
The music, however, is pure mid-2000s. It's whimsy, bouncy, brassy, and it will stay in your head for quite some time. Open Season wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. It was a solid, funny, and occasionally weird licensed game from an era where every movie had a console release. Unlike today, where we just kinda get a limited time skin in Fortnite or something. Now, it did teach us two important lessons though. First, nature is a delicate ecosystem that must be protected. And two, if a guy with a gun shows up, just start chucking rabbits at his face until he leaves. It might work. Now, if I was to use my 2006 kid brain, I would rate this game at about a 5 out of 10. But based on today's standards and all the fun jazz, I guess it would only be about a 4 out of 10. Did you play this one back in the day, or were you more of a over-the-hedge connoisseur? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed watching this look back at Open Season, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Also, let me know what other forgotten games you want to see covered. I try to stream these games before I make these videos, so if you want to see what's coming next, then follow me over on Twitch at wolves_tail. And remember, it's not animal cruelty if a grizzly bear does it, it's just aggressive networking.